share with you today how to jump on this big opportunity and teach you about Chainlink, how it works, how to become a Chainlink validator, how to go through that process, everything step-by-step in this masterclass. So a few quick housekeeping things before we get started. You know, if you have any questions, if you're watching this wherever you are, inside the membership program, on YouTube, make sure you ask your questions in the YouTube chat, because that's what I'm going to be looking at during this session, okay? And we'll probably have an extended time of Q&A towards the end. I'll keep an eye on the chat box here if any really pressing questions come up. But I want to try to give full attention to the presentation tonight, so sometimes it's hard for me to watch the chat and then do that at the same time. But we will definitely have an extended Q&A towards the end to clear up any questions that you have. So I have a special guest on the stream tonight. So I'm super excited to have Patrick Collins here from Chainlink and Alpha Chain. So Patrick is a successful node operator. So running a Chainlink validator, he's been through this process that we're going to be talking about tonight. He has got his node running with Alpha Chains, doing really well. Patrick's one of the guys who helped me get started with Chainlink. You know, I'm getting into this process, and he's the one that sort of helped me along in that and encouraged me to do it. So we're going to hear from Patrick tonight. I'm going to give him a few minutes at the front to kind of like talk about Chainlink and Alpha Chain. And we'll hear from him again at the end of the class when we do some of the Q&A, and also to talk about a really exciting opportunity that's coming up with Chainlink. Because people say like, hey, what are the unique opportunities, all that kind of stuff. Well, Patrick's going to tell us about one later. So I'm super excited to have you here, Patrick.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Really excited to be here. Really excited for the masterclass, and you make a lot of fantastic content. So just really excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, very cool. And Patrick's been great with Chainlink. You know, we did the Chainlink hackathon. We were a sponsor a few months back. Patrick's been making some great content as well. He's been doing really great stuff with the community, onboarding new devs into the Chainlink ecosystem and all that kind of stuff. So excited to have you here, Patrick.
Excited to be here.
Awesome. We got somebody from Bogota, Colombia. Very cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Actually, really quickly, another quick piece of housekeeping. So how this will work, of course, if you're inside the membership program already, we're going to have a replay link to this video available in the video vault, all right? And if you aren't in the membership program, you just sign up for the one-time masterclass. You're, of course, going to get a follow-up email after this where you'll get a replay link to this video, plus all the bonus content like the code examples, the step-by-step instructions, and the videos that go along with that, okay? So if you didn't join the membership option, you just joined the one-time masterclass, and you want to join the membership and unlock a lot more stuff because we're really leaning into these masterclasses. People have been eating them up. They really like them. We get to talk about the hottest blockchain topics, as soon as they come out. I mean, Chainlink's been out for a little while, but people inside the membership program have been asking about this. They want to learn about this. So that's one of the reasons we've been doing these. And we're leaning into these and like starting to get closer to like a once per month type of situation. So the membership is a huge value because you just get all those master classes as they come out, these live events, you get the replays, and you also get access to all the past master classes that we've done. So if you didn't join that, you can just shoot me an email to gregory@dappuniversity.com and we'll get you taken care of. So I think that's all the housekeeping stuff. Let's go over tonight's agenda. So we're going to talk about this big opportunity, right? How to become a Chainlink validator, how to set everything up step by step. We're going to talk about what Chainlink is. If you're confused, not even sure how that works, don't worry. We're going to go over that. So if you've done any of the past master classes, tonight's going to be a little bit different, but it's going to be even more value, which is crazy because some of the past master classes that I've done, we do a lot of live coding on screen, all right? And you have to kind of sit through that during the master class and ask questions at the end. But tonight's setup is pretty involved because when you're running a Chainlink node in the cloud, like I'm going to teach you how to do in this master class, there's so many steps, all right? You have to go like set up a cloud service to host your node. You have to put some smart contracts in the blockchain. There's just a lot of steps, okay? It's totally worth it going through all of it. But I have basically created a set of resources that shows you how to do all that step by step. So there's going to be some bonus videos So basically, if you're in the membership program, inside the Chainlink Masterclass, you're going to have like 5 videos that teach you how to do all the technical implementation for this. Okay. And if you just join specifically for the Masterclass, you're going to get a follow-up email with all those in a bundle just like this. All right. Plus the Masterclass. So we're gonna basically cover the high level tonight, all the concepts, talk about marketing, answer your questions, and also talk about the technical implementation without actually doing it. Just because I wanted to make sure we spend enough time and really go in depth on the technical implementation, and I feel like this extra resource will do that more justice. Once you have them, you'll have them for life. Watch them as many times as you need to. So. Just want to give you a heads up expectation about that. So let's see here. So yeah, we're going to talk about, how to become a Chainlink validator. First of all, we're going to talk about like what even is Chainlink. All right. We're going to talk about how to get started. All right. How to set up your node. And then how to market your node. And then we'll talk about what's coming. And then also some Q&A at the end, all right? So that's a rough overview we'll cover. So who's ready to get started? Let's say there's a little bit of delay on the stream here. I think it's
right.
5 seconds behind, yeah.
I'm ready to get started. I'm excited for this.
Awesome. So Governor loves, so Uni is on the stream tonight. So Patrick saw the video that we did with Uni. So Uni, I don't know if you guys saw the video I put out. I guess it was on Monday. I think it was on Monday with Uni. She did a really good job.
Yeah, that was a great video. Really pumped for you there, Uni. That was fantastic.
Yeah, with Governor now. Yeah, we were just talking before the stream was going live that it's so crazy, the opportunities in this space right now. And sometimes it's like hard to even like communicate to people how insane it is. You know what I mean? And it just takes videos like that to like, show people what's actually possible. Awesome. Yeah. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to briefly, introduce Patrick. I've already introduced him, but I'm gonna let him talk for just a little bit here about him, just so what he does, his background, in Alpha Chain. Because again, Patrick is someone who runs a Chainlink node. He basically is the thing that you want to become, and that I want to become, right? So I'm gonna hand it over just for a few minutes here for Patrick to introduce himself, talk about what he does. Briefly talk about the life of a node operator. I'm going to cover the details about like what it is, but I'll give that. I'll hand it over to Patrick so he can kind of get his perspective in, and then I'll let him drop off for a few minutes, and he'll join us towards the end when we talk about Q&A and some opportunities coming up soon.
Yeah, for sure. And once again, thanks so much, Gregory. Really excited to be here. Love all the content. Everybody who's in the chat, Gregory does a really good job of putting out and making sure, people understand the information. And so he's doing something really, really good for the community here. So really excited to be here and chat a little bit more about Chainlink as well, which is, my domain of expertise. So just a little bit of background on myself. So I run Alpha Chain, which is a Chainlink node blockchain service. We also have an API, and we also are doing ETH staking as well. So right now we're just kind of we're doing a lot of infrastructure, a lot of technical infrastructure for cryptocurrencies and for like financial data. And with that, pretty much everything I work on is infrastructure. So Chainlink, is basically that as well. It's a lot of DevOps knowledge. It's a lot of knowing like how failovers work, how your infrastructure works, and there's a lot of pieces there, and it's a lot of fun. I absolutely love it. I love being able to say, hey, I work, the work that I do helps the ecosystem of smart contract developers. I'm helping secure billions of dollars on the blockchain with DeFi. The way that I work and the way that I approach Chainlink and keeping my node up and keeping everything having uptime is I imagine, if my node goes down, all of DeFi is destroyed. Obviously, that's not the case, right? Because it's decentralized. If my node goes down, that's fine. It doesn't. The system persists because of the decentrality. But I act like if my node goes down, the world is ending, right? And that's the approach that I do kind of want to invest in everyone who's kind of looking to do this, right? Because if you're looking to be a node, people are looking at your rep, right? People are, and I might be jumping the gun a little bit here, but people are looking at your rep. People are going to see every time you respond, every time you don't respond. So I don't know how many people in the chat have done anything with ETH, but it's kind of the same thing. If you stop responding, you don't make as much ETH from your staking. It's the same thing with Chainlink. If you stop responding, you don't make as much link. And it's even more important with a Chainlink node, because when you stop responding, with like Ethereum and other blockchains, you just get put on kind of the money distribution. With Chainlink, the clients actually pick you, right? So you have to prove, hey, I'm a good node because I'm invested in the industry. I am, I help a lot of people. My node has the best uptime. I have unique data, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to play really nicely. You have to be involved with the community, and it's an absolute blast, and I absolutely love doing it. So. A little bit more on my background. I've actually only been in this space for a little bit over a year now. Before this, I'd worked at a hedge fund for a few years. I was on the infrastructure and investment analyst team. So I was, working on billion-dollar systems there. So the moving from, working on like a $30 billion hedge fund to working on basically securing DeFi kind of made sense. And in between, I was actually part of a data provider. So just kind of all the combination, made a lot of sense for me to kind of get into Chainlink, because I was working on making data reliable, working on keeping your data have uptime, making it really, really high quality. And then I had also had the experience of working on a system where, you need that data, you need that infrastructure to be up at all times. So this was kind of like a natural progression. And we were kind of talking about how, like it's crazy. So many people don't understand how smart contracts can change the world and how big of an impact they can really have. When I was first approached, at the data provider by some smart contract engineers saying, hey, we want to kind of partner, we want to do some stuff. I was like, okay, this is stupid. Blockchain is dumb, like, whatever. And then the more I got into it, the more I started learning about Chainlink, the more I realized, okay, this is life-changing stuff. This is planet-altering stuff here. And Chainlink in particular, this is why I'm running a node. This is why I'm helping the project. It's an open source project. Anybody can jump onto GitHub and help out. Is because I realized that smart contracts have this issue. And so here's where I'm going to start, explaining what Chainlink is. Smart contracts have this issue. So I don't know how much of Gregory's other videos you guys have seen, but blockchains are deterministic systems, right? So everything that happens on chain, everybody can see and is deterministic. So because of that, blockchains themselves actually can't make API calls to external sources, right? Because if they made an API call, then every other node would have to validate that API call to reach consensus, right? So I'm looking at the chat right now. Who here is familiar with consensus or familiar with some of these terms, or am I going too far right now? Do I need to back up here a little bit?
I think you're doing fine. It'll take a second to get an answer because the stream's on a little bit of a delay.
Okay,
cool.
Well,
I think you're doing great.
Okay.
I think we'll give it a second, let people kind of catch up. But
cool. All right, yeah, I'm seeing a yes or two.
So
blockchains are deterministic. So getting data is really, really difficult because you can't do this validation process. So what you need to do to get data is you need to use an oracle. So an oracle is any device or entity that interacts with the outside world, interacts with the real world, and uses that to put data onto the blockchain, right? So, and they do this through an external transaction. So every time you make a transaction on a blockchain, you can input some data, and that's exactly how it's done. That's how Chainlink does it. Now, this is great. However, everyone knows that smart contracts automatically execute and they're decentralized. So if you put some data in and that data is wrong, that data is bad, it's hacked, whatever, your smart contract doesn't care, it doesn't know, and it's going to execute. And we've seen tons of issues where somebody puts data in from a centralized source, and it causes massive chaos and potentially life-altering, damage in the opposite direction. So we never want to get our data from centralized entities, right? We've seen a lot of, just in November, we saw, I did a video on this, and I made a website called preventflashloanattacks.com. We saw around, well, if you include kind of I'm not going to include the most recent ones, around $45 million in damage due to projects using centralized Oracle. So they said, hey, you know what? I'm just going to input the data myself. And, that data was hacked. It was hijacked. Somebody crashed the price of the Oracle that they were using. And, boom, right? They lost 10 million, 20 million, $30 million. And in the grand scheme of DeFi, these small projects, you think it's a small subset, but this type of stuff doesn't happen in traditional finance, and we need to be kind of the pioneers saying, hey, crypto is so awesome, and we need to be the ones to take charge and fix the environment so that this doesn't happen, because we want more people to come into the smart contract world, but they're not going to do that if they say, oh, hey, well, I saw, these things were hacked and they lost $20 million. There's no way. So we are, we all at Chainlink, and those working on the project, not only are we, super bullish and super advocates of oracles and Chainlink oracles, but we also are really conscientious about smart contracts and bringing people into the ecosystem and really helping people become successful smart contract engineers. I love helping people get better. I know Gregory loves helping people get better. So we're on the same page there. So so Chainlink allows you to get data from the real world into your smart contracts, but it goes one step further. It also allows you to get data into your smart contracts in a decentralized manner. Right. So every single Chainlink node operator is actually an independent node operator, right? They're running their own infrastructure. So Gregory's going to show you a fantastic way to do it, but you don't have to do it that way if you want. All the steps are the same, but you could choose any infrastructure that you want, and that's actually very good because it helps decentralize the ecosystem. So if you take everything, you say, hey, that platform's great, but I want to do this platform, kudos, absolutely do that. So what Chainlink does is these smart contract engineers, they actually pull data from several nodes, and then it gets aggregated on chain. We'll talk a little bit about OCRs a little bit later, which actually does the aggregation off chain, and it's really, really cutting edge, like bleeding edge, and it's going to cut down on gas a ton and make everything wildly better. But so these smart contract engineers, they choose these node operators and they collect data from them, and they bring it on chain. And it's really, really important that it's done in a decentralized manner. And because each node is its own independent entity, because each node can choose kind of the data that they want, can choose the data that they want to deliver. It allows for the kind of this economy to emerge, which Gregory and I will talk a little bit more. Allows this economy to emerge about data delivery to the blockchain and data delivery to smart contract engineers. So that's a little bit about how it works and kind of what it's all about. So yeah, I don't know if. There was the other thing is right now there's a reason that Chainlink is kind of is such an important asset. Like I don't really want to. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I think Chainlink is one of the most important projects going on in Ethereum right now. Granted, I might be a little biased, but Chainlink is securing platforms. You can see it right there, like Aave, which is doing securing like over $1 billion in DeFi. Actually, if you want to check out DeFi, yeah, perfect. We have DeFi Pulse here. We have Aave. If we scroll down a little bit, we have Aave. We have Synthetics. We have Harvest. We have Yearn. Banker. We have all these projects on DeFi Pulse. They're securing literally millions and billions of dollars, and they're doing it because Chainlink is giving them this decentralized data. So Chainlink is allowing these projects to basically exist, right. Because they can get their data in a truly decentralized fashion. And we're really excited for more projects and more data types, because right now the most popular data types are crypto prices. Right. So all these are DeFi products getting DeFi prices, but There's so many other pieces of data that are going to unlock all these things. Like weather data is going to do so much for different types of insurance. Stock data is going to do things for getting synthetic stock assets on chain. They just had the presidential election in the States recently, and Everpedia actually did a project where they used a chainlink node to get the data, but and there were prediction markets around that specific smart contract. So getting all this data in a truly decentralized manner allows you to have these trustless smart contracts and allows you to do exactly what you want to do, like with smart contracts. Smart contracts at their pinnacle are the superior digital agreements, and you can really only get there if your data is also the same quality of your smart contract platform. So that's a little bit more about Chainlink, why it is such a groundbreaking, fantastic technology, and why these node validators are so important to the system, because they're the ones that are delivering the data and making sure the data gets into the smart contracts quickly. So that's a little bit more. Do you want me to go to my day-to-day a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. Let's do it. Let's talk about a day in the life. And I'm going to recap some of the stuff Patrick's kind of talked about. I'm going to draw a diagram so you guys can see, just to kind of further explain it. And I'll kind of walk you through step by step. But yeah, let's talk about your day-to-day. Like, what's it like to be a node operator?
Yeah, I'll go into the day-to-day. And then I'm seeing some people in the chat, what about automotive industry data? Absolutely. Like I feel like blockchains, and smart contract platforms in general, they're being underutilized, right? They are these insane smart contract platforms that can build these superior digital agreements. Any agreement that is a traditional agreement just is much better on a blockchain, because you have this, it's fixing this problem of trust in the world. Also speed, also scalability. It's fixing a ton of problems. So yeah, automotive industry did it at some point, absolutely. Anyways, yeah, a day in the life of being a node operator. So it's some days I don't even look at my node, which is great, and some days I spend a lot of time on my node. To be blatantly honest with you guys, I am on 24/7. So me and my team, we are always on. If the node goes down, like I said, we are acting as if our node goes down, DeFi is obliterated, right? That's not the case, but that's how we act, because we want to have our reputation up and we want to do our best to really secure the system. There's this, I forget what the psychological term is, but the more people that are doing something, the less responsible they feel. And I know a lot of the other node operators that I work with, we do our best to say, no, it's all us. So a day in the life, it can really be, some days I don't do anything. I don't say anything. Other days I get a text message at 3 a.m. and I have like my emergency bypass on and it blares and I gotta mosey on over to my computer and I gotta log on and I gotta see what's wrong. And whatever it is, I gotta triage it and I gotta fix it. And so that's definitely something that, to be honest, like, those are the bad days, but I usually feel like a badass. Like nobody else would get up at like 3 a.m. and fix them. Like I feel like a badass. I feel like I'm providing the service to DeFi, to blockchain, to smart contracts in general, and I'm helping secure this insane. We're part of this pie. Like I don't want to go off the rails too much here. We're part of this movement, right, of blockchain, and I get to be a part of it, and I get to be providing an infrastructure to be a part of it. And it's a really I feel incredibly gratuitous to be here and be doing this. So I treat it as such. But yeah, so some of it's going to be me waking up, jumping on, fixing whatever's wrong. Maybe the data providers is down and I need to switch a data provider. Maybe gas prices are spiking and I need to add more ETH to my node address or whatever. Some of the more often the day-to-day is going to be adding new jobs, working with clients, trying to figure out hey, like they're trying to deliver a type of data, what are the kind of the nodes to bring in, or adding new jobs, adding new data types. Chainlink is constantly evolving. Like I said, it's an open source project, so new things are being added by the community and everyone all the time, which is really fantastic. But for me, a lot of the time that I spend actually is helping, and then is helping, smart contract engineers be successful with the technology.
Right.
Because the way to really drive adoption, and the way to get people to really know who you are, and know what you're about, and know what your node's about, as well as to kind of join the community. So my favorite part of what I do, and before I even so I also part of the Chainlink team. So before I even jumped on the Chainlink team, I was writing blogs, I was jumping in the Discord, I was helping people just because I thought it was so much fun. And I realized that the way that we're going to drive adoption, both with really safe, secure Chainlink oracles and with smart contracts, is going to be helping people learn, and helping people get educated, and be a part of the community. Which is, again, hats off to Gregory. He's definitely doing his part, educating the community, and getting people excited, and getting people amped up. So my day to day, and this is obviously me, not all the other node operators kind of get as excited with helping the community. But yeah, that's more of my day to day. But on just the node side, that's more. It's really working a lot with DevOps. It's making sure that it's making sure my systems are good. I mean, my alerts are very specific. So I have very specific alerts. I have very specific alarms that ping me and get me up and get me on whenever something breaks. But yeah, when something breaks, it's an opportunity for improvement. I'll make the improvement. I'll fix the node. I'll make it better, and then carry on. So that's kind of more the day in the life. But there's definitely some DevOps knowledge, and Gregory is going to go into some of that, which is fantastic. There's definitely some DevOps knowledge. It's really, really useful to kind of you really want to understand what's going on. Because yeah, sometimes some of the fixes are really quick, but if you don't know how all the pieces work, then it's going to be really hard to triage.
Right.
So yeah, so a lot of DevOps knowledge there. Yeah, but really, once you get it set up, it kind of can go on its own. But again, you just have to be very diligent, because you do not want to have a bad reputation, and B, again, you're providing this insane service, right? You're providing this insanely awesome service, and you get to be a part of it, and you really don't want to throw that away. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. And I probably went over my time a little bit here.
No, that's okay. That's all right. I'm super excited we can have you on and hear straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Just sort of from the heart. What it's like and all that kind of stuff. Because I think people need to know is like what what they're getting themselves into, but even though there are the hard days and the easy days, like it's a very rewarding thing, and on many levels, right? The hard things are worth it. It's like learning to code is hard. You know what I mean? Anybody who's done the tutorials, all that stuff, has sat there, they've beat their head against the wall, fought with something, trying to get it to work. That process never really stops. The longer you're a developer, usually just you start taking on harder and harder challenges. Which that's always going to be true. But yeah, so I really think that's awesome. And you touched about the DevOps thing, because here's the thing, we were talking about this, or be real. This Chainlink thing is it's like running a little miniature digital business. It's not a set it and forget it type thing like running a Bitcoin node. And so let's say you get in there and you start trying to run your node, and you run into challenges or something like that. This is still incredibly valuable knowledge, even if you decide I want to try the node for a while, maybe, hey, it's not for me long term. Having these DevOps skills, if you want to go jump in and get a job, they're going to be insanely valuable. You know what I mean?
Just to add to that, so again, I absolutely love what I do. I feel super lucky to be in this space, and I've learned so much. So yeah, I worked at a $30 billion hedge fund, and I learned more doing my Chainlink stuff than I did at the hedge fund, which is kind of insane. Or maybe I was just maybe I was already posed to I was on the edge of learning so much more or something. I don't know. But yeah, you learn so much about systems, about how pieces work together. Just setting up a node, you'll learn so much about oracles, so much about how smart contracts work, about safety, about building your own company. You can build entire companies in the cloud. I know Gregory's got his tutorials are going to be in the cloud, and you'll get to see, hey, this is what, if I wanted to spin up my own company and host all my services in the cloud, this is how I would do it. And having this as a reference, I think is, exactly I just wanted to double down on that. So much more valuable, even if you say, hey, you know what, this node was cool. I don't feel like I don't want to maintain it. Now you have all this additional knowledge, all this DevOps knowledge that you can take and bring with you as you move on.
Yeah, totally. And honestly, it's like, it's not even, it's knowledge that I didn't really start acquiring in my career until I would say more like senior level, I would say, like, cause I'm an application developer at heart. Like I'm making things that people can use, have end users, you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. I was a developer before I got into blockchain, all that kind of stuff. If you've been watching my YouTube channel, you kind of know about my background a little bit there. But I wasn't really doing like more intensive like DevOps stuff until I was kind of at that level. And so I feel like the earlier you learn this stuff in your career, the longer that knowledge is going to compound. You know what I mean? And so this is great if you're new to coding to get your feet with this stuff, because it's going to be super valuable. I wish I had known more about it, honestly, early on. I'll put it that way. Okay, well. Patrick, that was awesome, man. I really appreciate that. Unless you have anything else pressing, I'm going to let you roll off to take care of what you need to for a few minutes. And I can go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll still be here. And again, guys, I'm going to be on at the end to answer some questions. Do you want me to answer some of the questions here now, or save them to the end?
If you'd like to, yeah, we can answer a couple of questions. Yeah,
sure. So I'll answer a couple questions now. Is there any value in using multiple decentralized data Oracle projects? No, I would say no there. It's really, if you want to mix high quality with poor quality, I think that's a recipe for disaster. I think that's not a good. I think there's a reason why Chainlink is what it is. I mean, you can run your whatever infrastructure that you want. You can tailor it. You can customize it. You can do literally whatever it is that you want. And then if you're going to mix it with something lower value, I think that's a recipe for disaster. We've seen projects who they'll say, hey, we'll take a bunch of good APIs, but those are kind of expensive. We'll mix them with some lower quality APIs, and then you just get bad data.
You get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for, and it's the same thing with Oracle's. You get a fantastic service like what Chainlink provides, and you mix it with something lower quality, and you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot. So that's a good question, though. Do you manage other nodes or just your own? Can you run multiple nodes? So I manage just my nodes. Linkpool is actually an example of a company that is coming out with like a node as a service, where you can like have a node and they'll manage it for you. I don't think it's fully out yet. I'm not sure what the status is. You could probably check with Linkpool, but they're running like a node as a service. Can you run multiple nodes? So I do run multiple nodes. I run a lot of testnet nodes actually. And I've run like Avalanche Chainlink node. I've run a Polkadot Chainlink node very briefly. For some of the other side chains, they're kind of on and off. But I like doing it for fun because I think it's, because I understand it, and it's a lot of cool. It's a lot of fun. And then I can sync with some people who are building projects, on a specific side chain. And I can be like, hey, I'll be your Oracle provider for this hackathon project. And again, that's part of the piece of like marketing is, say, hey, yeah, I'll help you out. Don't worry about it. So yeah, I run multiple nodes. I don't run other people's nodes though, but you can. I am brand new to coding as I am learning now. Will I be in and over my head doing this now? That might be a question for Gregory, actually.
So I think the short answer is if you want to set up a testnet node, like I'm going to show you in the bonus materials here, as long as you follow everything that I'm doing, I think you will be able to achieve the outcome that I'm showing you. All right.
Agreed.
And that is a minimally viable node that you need to get started. I think as long as you're able to follow those steps, especially for the membership program, it can jump in there, ask questions as you get stuck. I think you can do that. Now, will you need some additional knowledge to continue your journey? I think you definitely will, but you want to get all that knowledge after you've accomplished the initial
For
task.
sure.
That's just my whole philosophy of teaching coding. It's one of the reasons I'm so tutorial driven, so project driven, is you learn by doing, because you don't know what you need to know until you just kind of get in there. The more experience you have, the easier it will be for you to understand as you go through. But as long as you take your time, follow the steps, try to figure out, where you went wrong if you get stuck, I think you can definitely do it.
Yeah, agreed. 100%. And again, if you learn how to do this stuff, you're going to take the knowledge and you're going to be way better for it. You're going to understand systems at a really high level, even if you're brand new to coding. So absolutely. What are the applications for oracles? Getting data, like any type of data securely. Like we're looking at DeFi Pulse right now. All these projects need data. Oracles are the way to get that data. So the application for oracles, and in my mind, this is like a subsection of what oracles can really do, because oracles are the way to just interact with the real world. Like they're the way to take smart contracts from being kind of these fun little altcoin makers to these superior digital agreements, to doing things that anybody, even the non-crypto savvy, can kind of get into and understand. So considering I don't have data, it moved on me. What data can we run Node for? This is a good question. So a lot of the node operators are partnered with data providers to get data. So you don't have data now, but you can get data. There's also a ton of free public data out in the world that needs to be decentralized and put on chain. So there's a ton of public data that you can use as well. Is there a way to query smart contracts to look for prospects for data input needs, like auto industry, for example? That's interesting. I don't know if I have the answer to that. Probably. I think the better way to do that is to join the community and ask around at the moment. Will only established businesses get selected? So this is a good question. So Chainlink is an open source project. So anybody can run a node, anybody can spin up a node, and anybody can be chosen as a node operator. So if you're working with a project and they're like, hey, we need a node operator, and you go, hey, cool, I'll be your node operator. Or, well, again, you don't want to have one, you want it to be a network. But if you go, hey, yeah, I'll be one of your node operators, you absolutely can be chosen. Like if you have a good rapport, good reputation with them, again, this is where kind of that digital business comes into play, and helping out the community comes into play. You absolutely 100% can be chosen, and not just established businesses. Because again, you want to say, maybe the established businesses have poor reputation for specific data types, or maybe you think you can do better. There's a ton of reasons why to be chosen. And the other thing is, as time progresses, we're going to need more and more validators, right? Yeah. The system is going to need to be more and more decentralized as time goes on. And again, with OCRs, which we'll talk about later, it's going to get a lot easier to just get massive amounts of node operators on similar jobs. How much time is spent for maintenance and updates? It really depends. Some days, or some weeks, I'll spend like an hour. Some weeks I'll spend many hours. It's usually not more than 10. There have been a couple of weeks earlier on when Chainlink was first starting out, but this was when it was first starting out, when they were kind of still figuring out the kinks that were much longer. But yeah, it's pretty quick now, usually, to be honest. Node as a service has not yet begun. Yeah, I don't think so. I day trade in the early morning from 8:30 to 10 a.m. Think there will be a conflict trying to manage a node. If you only want to, I'm not sure I understand the question. If you only want to manage the node between those hours, or you don't want to, I don't know. I don't understand.
I think it's don't want to manage the node during those hours.
So if your node goes down between those hours, again, I wouldn't let that happen. And this is why having a team is really helpful. So you just say, hey, I'm going to be off for an hour and a half. Can you cover? Yeah, and that's it. And most of the time, covering is just doing whatever you would normally do. Just if your phone blows up, you get online. Greg makes everything.
Maybe we can. Maybe if we get enough people in the DApp University community running their nodes, and they can get a little triage team.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Like triage as a service, that might be kind of cool. What is the cost of setting up and maintaining a node? It depends on the system that you use. Gregory's going to show you a good way on the cloud. What kind of data can we bring in via Chainlink now? What is in demand right now? Right now, it's crypto data. I'm sure it will be a lot more stuff. Is the cost to maintenance and update expensive? Depends. Again, it depends on what you want to do. Like if you run everything hardware, it's pretty cheap. If you run everything cloud, it's a little bit more expensive, but your uptime is going to thank you for it. And a lot of the complexities are made much, much simpler if you do everything cloud. I will answer like one or two more, and then I'll let you take it away. Does running a node pay for server costs? If you're, again, it depends on your setup. It really depends on your setup. Depends on how you do it. Depends on how many people you get with. Do we need a supercomputer? Like, no, you don't need a supercomputer. The VM that Gregory is going to show is really small. Actually, it's he'll show you the specs. You need a super light.
I was actually surprised. I double checked the Chainlink docs when I was making it. Because I was sort of like, well, let's try to make this as affordable as possible for the long term and like scale the VM down. And I think you only need I think the Chainlink docs say the minimum amount is like one CPU with like 2 gigs of RAM or something like that. It's not very much.
That's a CPU, 4 gigs of RAM. I think OCRs are a little bit more, but we can talk about that later. Even those are.
The good news is the thing I'm going to show you how to do tonight is I'm going to show you to get set up. You'll get 60 days for free plus $100 credit, so you don't have to spend any money trying this out. Set it up, run it. You've got plenty of time to try to get this thing rolling. If you decide it's not for you and you want to cancel, it's totally free.
Just turn billing off and you're good to go. But you can run a Chainlink node for free for 2 months, and then if you want to do it again later, just get a different account. But cool. All right, Gregory, I will turn it over to you again. Thanks so much for having me, and I'll be on a little bit later to answer some more questions.
Awesome.
More questions here.
Yeah, that's great, Patrick. Thanks so much, man. This was a huge value to hear your input on this and help answer some of those questions. So I'm gonna take over here. We're gonna go over some more sort of the theory, the explanation, show you some diagrams about what Patrick's talking about, and clear up anything that might be a little bit confusing, especially the newcomers. But yeah, thanks a bunch, Patrick. We'll talk to you soon. All right. So everybody still with me here? Let the chat catch up here. There's a little bit of a delay in the live stream. Yes, Patrick is alpha chain in the chat, just FYI. Awesome. Very cool. Okay. So, let's go over some of this and kind of break it down. I mean, Patrick did a great job of kind of giving us perspective on everything. I want to just draw a couple diagrams so that you understand like visually how this works. Okay. And understand the problem that Patrick's talking about, the Oracle problem, go a little bit deeper on it, just to have a technical explanation. So again, there's a lot to do to do the technical implementation. And again, you're going to have some bonus resources that show you how to do all that kind of stuff, like how to get set up in the cloud with your node, how to set up your validator process and SSH into your cloud instance to like do that, how to set up a database, how to fulfill requests inside an application, and then how to market the node. So again, the step-by-step sort of quote unquote coding, there's not really coding. There's a little bit of coding involved, but the technical implementation is all in a separate section. So if you're watching this video and you're totally confused, you're like, hey, where's the code? It's all in here if you're in the membership program. And if you just join for the masterclass, you're going to get a follow-up email ASAP with all those instructions. Okay. So let's go over a little more about just Chainlink. So, Patrick talked about Chainlink is a protocol for getting real world data to smart contracts. All right. So I want to briefly just recap about what that means. So let's talk about smart contracts. Okay. So a smart contract is, it's just code that runs on a blockchain. Okay. So smart contracts are just programs that run on a blockchain. They're written in programming language called Solidity. I'm sure you guys have probably done a lot of the tutorials on the channel, maybe done the blockchain bootcamp, but I try not to assume people are starting from square one just in case. Okay. So this smart contract is a program that runs on the blockchain. The code can't change. It's run by all the different nodes in the network. Okay. And so one of the most common things is that people, these smart contracts are the building blocks of real world blockchain applications. So like DeFi is an example we talked about earlier. So if you click through to one of these DeFi apps like Aave, like Patrick was talking about, right? This is a blockchain application. You see this website here in your browser, but sorry. Sorry, this is Aave's not letting me connect to it right now. Let's just continue without wallet. Anyways, Aave is you see this website here, all right? But this website talks directly to the blockchain. So there's a bunch of code on the quote unquote back end of this website that's powered by smart contracts. Okay, so these smart contracts are the programs that run on the blockchain, all right? And that's what I'm kind of drawing here, right? But these smart contracts essentially are dumb, right? Just as a simple explanation. They don't really know that much. All they know, the blockchain itself doesn't really know that much. All the blockchain knows about is who owns how much cryptocurrency, like Ether, for example, the cryptocurrency in the Ethereum blockchain. It knows about when you send cryptocurrency from one account to another. It knows about when you talk to a smart contract, and any data that lives on the blockchain is just stored inside of transactions and also inside these smart contracts, right? So if you write a code that has data in it, that data is stored inside within this smart contract inside the blockchain itself. Okay, so all the data the blockchain is really a closed system, so it knows about the cryptocurrency, but it doesn't know like how much the cryptocurrency costs. All right, so like because Ether, Ethereum cryptocurrency its value comes from the marketplace. Like, what are people willing to buy Ether for, right? The Ethereum blockchain doesn't know that Ether is worth $645. There's no way to know that information. Okay. All it knows is like that I have 1 Ether or 10 Ether. And if I send you one, that you now have 1 Ether or 10 Ether, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. But it doesn't know how much it costs. Okay. So, but if you're going to build a blockchain website like Aave, for example, sorry, my Zoom bar keeps like going over. You can't probably see it on the screen share, but it's obstructing my tabs up here. If you're going to build a website like Aave, like a money market account that deals with cryptocurrency prices, it doesn't know what these cryptocurrencies actually cost, and so it needs to get that information from somewhere. Okay, that's real world data outside of the blockchain. That has to fetch that information from somewhere. Okay, and that's what Chainlink is all about, because these smart contracts, they don't know that information. So they have to request it. So you think about it. If you're going to request that information, you can do it a couple different ways. You could, as the smart contract creator, just like hard code some information in there, or you could have a function on your smart contract where you just say, all right, I'm going to go to, CoinGecko and look up the Ethereum price or Ether. And I'm going to call a function of my own smart contract and say, okay, ETH is now $645. And but the problem is, it wouldn't always be up to date. All right. And people wouldn't necessarily trust you because you could just lie about the price of Ether. And if you had a website like Aave, for example, it wouldn't be trustworthy at all. It wouldn't be anything close to decentralized. Okay. So that's what we have oracles for. Okay. So oracles let you get this outside data to smart contracts. And that's what Chainlink is about. So Patrick talked about this a little bit. The other thing is like you could, so another option is like your smart contract, you could try to get it to call an API, for example. Like let's say you wanted to call the CoinGecko API to fetch the Ethereum price. Well, there's a problem with that, a few problems, because your smart contract is on every single node in the blockchain network, all right? And so every single node that executes that, it's on all the mining nodes. It's getting executed on all the mining nodes. And if every node that's going to participate in executing that transaction is going to have to call the CoinGecko API, all right? And then you got a problem because there's a slight discrepancy in the amount of time that each node is going to call that, and they could potentially get a different answer, all right? So you could have like, basically you can't really make API requests reliably from smart contracts, okay? So that's what Oracle does. And Oracle lets you request outside data to your smart contract. Now, like Patrick was talking about earlier, you could have a centralized Oracle, or you could have a decentralized Oracle. So I think I've spelled it decentralized Oracle. All right. So a centralized Oracle will basically just be like a smart contract, you know, that you put information into that tells you what the price of Ether is. That'd be like a centralized Oracle. Okay. But a decentralized Oracle is a protocol where a bunch of different nodes, all right, all fetch a bunch of different nodes all fetch the Ethereum price or Ether price, all right? They all go out here and fetch the ETH price, and then they return it in a decentralized way, all right, to your smart contracts, okay? So if your smart contract says like, hey, what's the price of ETH? It can talk to an Oracle contract. I'll show you this later in the technical implementation. And then this Oracle basically is going to talk to a validator. This is a decentralized network of validators that can all request the Ethereum price. And then it returns to the validator. The validator returns that to the Oracle contract. And then the application can fetch that information back from the Oracle contract. And because all these different independently owned and operated validators are asking for this information, that's what makes it reliable for these DeFi applications to use Chainlink to get cryptocurrency prices, okay? That's the big value of Chainlink. That's the big value of being a decentralized validator, all right? That's what makes it safe, or safer, I should say, to use DeFi, right? To reliably have cryptocurrency prices. They're getting injected into smart contracts so we can have applications like this that can power, this next generation of applications that is, growing at a ridiculous rate, right? I mean, in 1 year, look at this chart, right? So anyways, there's a huge value long-term, in my opinion, for DeFi. Of course, it's not a perfectly safe place right now. I'm not telling everybody to go out there and put their life savings into DeFi protocols. There's definitely risks now. But Chainlink is helping with that. All right. Right now, there's no DeFi without Ether and the Ethereum, and there's also no DeFi really, in my opinion, without Chainlink at this point. So yeah, that's basically what Chainlink is for. Now let's talk about the actual validator. So what does a validator do? You're going to get all this in the technical implementation, but I'm going to give you a high level right now. So a validator is part of this decentralized network that is involved in this life cycle of like a DeFi app or any sort of blockchain app, talks to an Oracle contract, which is part of your validator process. It talks to this node, that talks to some sort of external data source, all right, and then gives it back to this app, okay? So when you become a validator, you set up, let's see here. You basically set up a few different things, all right? You set up a node, all right? So you set up a cloud computer instance. And again, you can do this a bunch of different ways. You can do it on your own computer. But I'm going to show you how to do it in the cloud because like Patrick talked about, you want your node to be on all the time, all right? You want no downtime. And so you can set up a cloud instance that's going to have two things. It's going to have a virtual machine. So this is going to be like a headless computer, all right, that runs Linux that you can run your validator on. And then it's also going to have a database. So you're going to set up two things in the cloud. You set up your validator VM, virtual machine, computer instance, and then a database, and they'll talk to one another to run your node. You need a VM, you need a database to do both of those, okay? So you also need an Ethereum node. So you can talk to the Ethereum blockchain. So the good news is you don't have to run your own Ethereum node. It's really insane to try to do that on your own. So we can use an Ethereum as a service. You can get started for free. Just get an Ethereum node URL to talk to your validator. All right. So you don't need to set this up. You just need to get a URL. I'll show you how to do all that in the technical implementation. Again, there's a separate section for all this stuff like I'm talking about. And then the last thing is you need a smart contract that's going to be an Oracle contract. And this is going to be your interface that people are going to talk to. Because when people, when they use your node for jobs, they're mostly going to be talking directly to this Oracle contract. And your validator is going to run in the background to like, basically if somebody says like, hey, what's the current Ethereum price? They're going to talk to your Oracle contract. Your validator node is going to realize that someone has, requested that information. And then your validator is going to pick that up, process that request to do this sort of thing, right? Go here, and then come back to your Oracle contract, and then do here. All right. So in the technical implementation, I'm going to show you how to set up a cloud instance step by step, show you how to get an ETH node pretty easily, and then also show you how to put this Oracle contract on the blockchain. There's no coding involved for the actual Oracle contract itself. I'm just going to give you the contract. You can point and click deploy. You don't even have to install anything on your computer to do it. You can do everything in your browser. And then I'll also show you how to create a test app, basically, that talks to your Oracle contract to make sure that you're set up properly and that other apps can make requests to your Oracle contract as well. So there's no coding involved in that either. I'll just give you the final code solution, show you how to point and click deploy it. I'll, of course, explain the code in there, but you don't have to be a coder in order to produce the result that you need from that. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the passive income side of things, or just the income, right? Because like Patrick talked about, there is some activity involved with this. It's like running a digital business. Okay. So they're going to be passive in the sense that Patrick talked about, sometimes he's not doing anything, right? He's like working maybe 1 hour a week. Sometimes he's working more. Maybe there's an emergency every now and then. But let's talk about just income, just to make it, avoid any confusion. We're talking about the income side of things. So income, or just earning money. How do you earn money as a Chainlink validator? So basically, like when people make these requests, all right, when a consumer like talks to your Oracle contract, they have to pay a fee to get this data, all right? So that fee is paid in Link. So Link is Chainlink's own cryptocurrency, all right? So let's see here. Sorry, my Zoom keeps getting in the way of my thing up here. So Chainlink has its own cryptocurrency. It is a token. It's an ERC20 token. It runs on top of the Ethereum blockchain. So real quick on that, Ethereum lets you create your own cryptocurrency without creating your own blockchain with smart contracts. ERC20 tokens are just examples of cryptocurrencies that run on top of the Ethereum blockchain. So Chainlink is an ERC20 token. And this is how you earn money. Basically, you earn Link tokens. So people pay you a fee in Link tokens when they make requests to your Oracle contract that goes to this validator here. All right. So I'll show you in this section, like when you want to take out your money from your validator, you're basically taking these Link tokens from the Oracle contract. And then of course you could swap those out for a stable coin. You could swap them out for Ether on Uniswap, for example. Okay. But your payment is going to go here. You're going to get paid in Link tokens. So that's how you get paid. All right. So let's look at really quickly, some of the top nodes. So you get to because like Pat talked about, it's like a digital business. So a Chainlink node, I talked about this, is not like a Bitcoin node where you set it up, you turn money on, and you just sit back and start earning passive income, right? There is some active work involved, but once you have the active work set up, a lot of the income that you earn is passive in the sense that you're earning it around the clock without actively doing something and getting paid for it, if that makes sense, right? it's an income source, and it has to be maintained over time. But it's not like trading time for money, like if you're billing hourly on a project as a freelancer or something like that. But yeah, so basically, like, you do have to treat it like digital business. And so part of that is getting people to use your node, all right? Because you're not a Bitcoin miner where you just sit back and the Bitcoin network takes care of you. Basically, you're trying to get as many consumers like this to use your Oracle contract as a part of this decentralized network to get those payments in Link. And now, of course, you don't want people to only use your Oracle, especially in production, unless you're talking about like verified randomness, which Patrick mentioned. But you do, but yeah, basically, the business side of things is getting as many people to use your Oracle contract to fulfill those jobs as possible. That's how, that's how you win at this game, right? So, yeah, that's a little bit about the business side. We'll again talk about marketing later, but so you have to set up the node. I'll show you that. You have to, do some maintenance on your node. You have to market the node. That's how you earn money with it. Of course, we'll look at the market.link. You can look at the nodes here. I mean, you look at the very top, right? I mean, you're talking about revenue per day. It's in the thousands, right? So it's pretty good. Now, of course, I'm not even saying that this is something that you're going to like go out tomorrow and start making, but part of it's showing you the upside potential, right? And there's a few reasons I want to talk about upside potential, right? It shows you what's possible for the most successful people in the space. All right. So that makes you think of a few things. Like, one is if you could just even get a fraction of their success, like, is that worth your time? Like, just thinking about it that way, right? The other thing is, if this space does keep growing and you get a fraction of their success and then the entire space takes off, right, then you could get a lot closer to their results. Like I said, there's no guarantee. I'm not trying to make any income guarantees. A lot of this is about you putting in the time and the effort and then having the savvy to get this opportunity rolling, right? But that's just how I think about it, right? You can get on Market Link and look at everything, right? And, also, if you scroll on the bottom, there's going to be a graveyard of nodes who didn't do anything, right? Never got any activity. So you can kind of see for yourself the sort of range of possibilities here, right? We'll talk more about Market Link later, but let me just check my notes here. I think we're doing pretty well. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the setup. All right, so I've talked about the high level sort of diagram here. Just make sure there's no like crazy questions. So let's talk a little bit about some of the technical implementation. So I'll give you a quick high level, right? So basically what this is going to involve, getting your cloud set up. So what I'm going to show you how to do today, there's a variety of ways you can do this. I've tried to make this as simple as possible. And also, yeah, as like low risk as possible for you to get started. So let me just show you here. So yeah, so we're going to make this as low risk as possible. And the technical implementation, I'm going to show you how to get this set up on the test network. So we're going to use the Kovan test network. And honestly, you want to start with test network before you move to mainnet so that you make sure you've got everything set up properly and that you can actually fulfill requests, because there's a lot of steps in here. And you like Patrick talked about, people care a lot about your reputation, and you don't want to start like jacking with your reputation on the mainnet before you're really comfortable on testnet. So the whole goal here is to get this working on testnet, get other people to use your nodes. So if you're inside a membership program and you guys start building apps, you can use each other's nodes to test around with, play around with, to get comfortable before you try to move to mainnet. So we're going to use Kovan test network in the technical implementation. I don't want you guys to have to worry about like, say you try this out and it's something you don't do long term. I'm going to show you can get 60 days for free, $100 in credit, I think is what it is. So if you try it and you want to turn your node off later, something like that, you haven't lost out there. So I'm going to show you to run do DigitalOcean as your cloud provider. Okay, so there is should be a link in the resources on how you can claim that credit. The other cool thing about this is DigitalOcean is really easy on the setup. Okay, so I've actually done this on different cloud providers. I've done it on Google Cloud Platform. That's what Patrick uses. I've done it on AWS. I've done it on DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean was by far the easiest to just like click a few buttons and get this to work over time, right? That's what I recommend starting out on, okay? That's what I show you how to do in this tutorial. Now, if you're a whiz at AWS or you Google Cloud Platform, you already got some pretty good DevOps chops, then of course you can do it that way. But if you want to follow everything I'm doing step by step, I'll do DigitalOcean. So this is the huge benefit of running this thing online all the time, right? It's going to basically give you a server that you can SSH into, all right? So you'll get this, okay? So it's kind of bad practice for me to show my SSH stuff here with the credential, with the IP address, everything. But I'm not going to keep this particular instance up, so don't like try to guess my SSH password into this box. It probably won't be live for very long. So yeah, you'll learn. If you don't freak out if you've never done SSH before. I'm going to show you everything. It's not as hard as it looks. Once you get inside of here, basically you'll be able to talk to your validator node remotely with Linux commands. Again, if you're brand new to this, you're not comfortable with Linux, you're not comfortable with system administration, I'm going to show you everything inside that. As long as you follow the steps, you should be able to do everything that I'm talking about. Of course, if you want to get serious about this over time, there'll be more that you'll want to learn, but this will definitely get you started. So let's see here. Oops, sorry. Let's see here. Yeah, another cool thing about DigitalOcean, and that's talk about this in the class, is it's got a pretty cool like web interface for interacting with your thing, with your VM. So like you can actually launch your console. You could like SSH into your box in your browser, which is pretty cool. You wouldn't necessarily there's some limitations to this for sure, but for really quick and easy access, like if you don't want to run your own terminal, you could do it here, which is pretty awesome. So that's the cool thing I like with DigitalOcean. All right, so that's a brief overview of sort of what it takes to become a validator, why we need Chainlink, everything I'm going to show you inside the technical implementation. Again, this is a separate section. For the membership program, just scroll down and find these extra videos. I'm going to show you how to do all that stuff step by step. cloud setup, the validator setup, how to put these smart contracts on here, your Oracle contract, also the consumer contract, and then also the section on marketing. So let's talk about marketing since we're talking about that, okay? Because again, it's like a digital business. It's not like a Bitcoin node where you turn it on and you just start, the money machine starts going crazy. There's definitely some work involved. But let's look at the core feature that you need to have if you're going to market your node. Okay. So the first is getting exposure on market.link. Okay. Because market.link and also reputation.link are two websites people go to check on Chainlink nodes for a few different things. So one is like discovery. Okay. So people want to look for, let me actually open a new window here where I'm not logged in and unlogged in and unauthenticated. Actually, it's the same. Okay. But so they want to look for, nodes. So sometimes people are looking for specific jobs. Okay. And then we want to say like get, let's see here. They look for specific jobs or adapters. Like they want to get bytes data and they want to see like, let's see, hold on, that didn't work. See, get bytes 32. Okay. Let's see here. Actually, hold on a second. That's going up under. Yeah. So get ETH price. Yeah. So there's lots of people can like search and they'll look for specific tasks and see who supports it. And you can kind of think about it like being on Google. Like if you want your website to get found for somebody to use your company, you want to be on Google. All right. If people are going to Chainlink Market to look for other Chainlink nodes, you want to be on market.link. Same thing for reputation.link. One way is it's just about getting found. Okay. Because like Patrick talked about, over time, this space needs to decentralize more. The more reliable nodes that are out there, the more decentralized this becomes, and the more valuable the more valuable DeFi, actual decentralized finance becomes. DeFi is still early in the early phases, and you can think about DeFi being like a lot of the blockchain stuff is very centralized in the beginning because hardly anybody uses it. But the more people use it over time, the more decentralized, the more robust it becomes. And that's why it's good. That's why we can still have opportunity for more validators to enter the space. That being said, you need to have your reputation up, which is why it's good to start with a test network before you move to mainnet. Because once you move to mainnet, your reputation is going to stick. It's on the blockchain. It's there forever. Okay. So people can look at your reputation. They can also look at reputation.link. All right. So you can look here, the Chainlink block explorer. So you can see like 10 best responding oracles. Oh, that was an alpha chain right there. So we got Patrick on the front page. So yeah. Part of it is part of the marketing is showing that you're reliable because the blockchain will tell you that you're reliable. Part of the marketing is being on these services where people want to find you. They can find you if they're just searching for that way. And then part of it is setting up your node profile to actually show like what kind of jobs you have, all that kind of stuff. What can people use you for? Can you add new jobs? All that kind of stuff. All right. So there's a section in that in the technical implementation. I'll show you how to sign up for market.link, add your node, add your jobs, all that kind of stuff. Because people are ultimately going to go to your page to like get your job IDs when they use your Oracle for their apps, right? Because you need to list your job IDs. They don't have access to your node operator dashboard and all that kind of stuff, right? So you definitely wanted that. So some ideas on marketing the node. So, part of it is just having some sort of sense of like business skills. So it's knowing how to add value, okay, and being able to communicate that to people, and then marketing, basically having more people know about you, and also helping other people. That's what value is. Value is helping other people and then being able to pay you for service. So one, you need to be able to offer the service. You need to have the thing they're looking for. You need to be reliable with your reputation. That's why I've hammered these things home. And then the other part of it is just getting exposure. So I'm gonna have Patrick talk a little bit more about this type of thing, but I'll give you some things to look at. So one thing you can think about is the Chainlink Discord channel. Okay, so you can sign up for this. There is a node operators request channel inside of here. Okay. There's also some other ones like the node operators channel. There's a business node operators channel. I see Patrick inside of here as well. So so you'll see someone in here. So it's even saying does anyone know of any nodes for New York Stock Exchange equities data? So sometimes people will ask people to have custom adapters, custom jobs, and you can be the person to add those types of things, right? So that's one thing to look at. All right, you'll be able to see what other people are doing inside of here as well. Part of it, like I said, I'm gonna have Patrick talk a little bit more about some of these types of things. Part of it is going the extra mile. So some things that I've thought about, again, I'm newer in this process. Patrick's much further along in this process than I am, I guess, put it that way. Some ideas. I mean, you could create a website for your node. It could be a simple landing page for marketing for your service, right? Showcases your presence, shows you on the extra mile. Maybe you have some, maybe you can showcase your reputation there, type of thing. I think social media presence is a good idea. All right. Part of that's education and adding value for other people. All right. And kind of getting into those watering holes is okay, so basically if you want to become a node operator, where are other people, looking for them, right? Well, the Chainlink node operator requests channel is a pretty good place to think about that, right? If you have reputations out of there, if you have a website that talks about you, if you have some sort of presence, people trust you, know you over time, right? That's going to be a big value add. I mean, another possibility is just cold outreach, all right? Slowly warming people up and providing them with value. You always want to do that with cold outreach. You want to try to give before you ask, okay? And that could be a volume game type of thing. So part of that is just saying who needs node operators, all right? And then trying to do cold outreach to as many of those people as you can, all right? And trying to offer value. And part of that value is to them is just, if you can do something really impressive, right? Say you can get your stats up really high and you can lead with that, that is value. It sounds like it's bragging, but if it's a pain point that application has and you can say hey, I've got this, then that's value for them. That gives them a reason to listen to you. So, let's see here. Let me just make sure I have any questions. Let's see if Patrick's back on. Let's see here. Let me ping him real quick. It's a big good time for him to jump back on and talk about some of this.
Oh, I need to fix my camera there though. Huh?
That's all right.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Changed my shirt. I got my Chainlink Christmas shirt.
Nice. I like it. We got the Christmas background and the Chainlink Christmas. I gotta get.
Oh yeah, I'm in the holiday spirit. Sorry, I missed the question.
That's okay. So I've been talking about I've gotten into the marketing part. Right. I've got a whole section in the setup about how to get listed on market.link. Make sure you've got your stats up there. Make sure you got your jobs, all that kind of stuff. Talked about how that's a lot like a search engine. People are looking for nodes. That's a way to get found, sort of like the Google for Chainlink nodes. Talked about basically your reputation being vital in marketing. Talked about trying to get in front of other people, like the Discord server for Chainlink, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Talked about possibility of creating a website for yourself, some sort of social media presence, so that further authenticates it.
I was listening. I was just in the other room.
Yeah. So maybe from your experience, any other stuff that you can add to that, and also kind of transitioning into some of the other exciting stuff we want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you said adding value, right? The reason people want to use your node is because your node is going to add value to their smart contract. Excuse me.
All right.
Apologies. Your node is going to add value to their smart contract. Your service is going to add value to what they're trying to do. So, a service like Aave, a service like Synthetics, for example, they want to know what they're really concerned about is, are you going to be reliable giving me data, right? So if they look, if they look at your node and they say, oh, hey, you don't have a way to get any crypto data. You don't have any, you don't have very reliable uptime. They're not going to want you to be, providing the data to their service. So it's really going to be, showing how you can provide value, and showing what you can do. And yeah, and you can see in the Discord here, there's a bunch of community node operators who've just kind of hopped in, and some of them kind of sit and wait for somebody to, say, hey, I'm looking, like the New York Stock Exchange equities person was like, hey, I'm looking for NYSE data. Some of the node operators kind of wait around, and wait for that to happen. And then some of the other node operators, what they'll do is they'll actually help. They'll find a project who needs help, who needs data, and they'll help that project get spun up with data. They'll say, hey, we'll help you we'll help you get the customized data. Don't worry about it. And that's how they kind of get introduced. So we've seen node operators who've kind of come up just because they're so helpful with the community. We've seen other node operators, and this might not be you guys as much, but we've seen other node operators that are just established infrastructure, like blockchain infrastructure providers.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the other big ones are like Stakefish, who do a ton of staking services for other blockchains, staking facilities. Same thing, they do a lot of staking facilities, and they run these large infrastructures for other blockchains and for other infrastructures. And they've proven, hey, we have reliable uptime. Right. You want to use us because we are reliable crypto infrastructure. We understand how crypto works, and we understand how the DevOps works. So, yeah, it's literally everything you just said. Double down on it. Helping the community, bringing value to the community, and not just the Chainlink community, just smart contract community as a whole. Right. The reason that Chainlink exists is to help bring smart contracts from where they are now, which is we're starting to see these digital agreements. We're starting to see smart contracts to do what they're really meant to be, what they're meant to do. The idea is to help bring those to the next level, to these superior digital agreements.
Yeah, totally. And one thing I want to chime in on too, is that two things. One, there is no real just like step-by-step plan as far as the marketing goes, about like just do this and you'll get this result. Okay, so this is where it does like you have to kind of go in there and actually figure some things out for yourself. There's no like step-by-step coding course on how to just like but that's true of like any business that you start. Okay. Like I'll just tell you that from experience, right? There's no just like cookie cutter, like do this and get success type of thing. But the other thing,
it's definitely one of the most unique infrastructures in blockchain. And sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to double down on that too. It's different. It's different. Yeah. And there's reasons for it. There's reasons for it because oracles need to be handled very particularly.
Yeah, totally. And so the other thing too is one of the most common patterns I would say with opportunities like this that have scalable income is, and really anything, but it's basically a lot of times it looks like a lot of effort at the beginning with hardly any results, and then the results start coming and it's like boom. you know what I mean? In the sense of like of something happening. So think about like learning coding, for example. Like when you're learning coding, you are trying and you're getting like nowhere. You're getting nowhere. You're getting nowhere. You're getting nowhere. Then you have a breakthrough. All right. It's the same type of thing if you're starting. You know what I mean? Like some other type of thing. There's lots of different things where it takes effort for a long time until you see the results. The results are definitely lag behind your effort, but when they come, like they come, and with something like this, the results they can be good. All right, so that's the other thing I would say about this for sure. So again, there's no guarantees and that type of thing. Again, this is not just like a cookie cutter. I can tell you exactly what to do step by step, but definitely gonna give you a lot of ideas here. Some of this is about getting in there, jumping on there, talking to people like Baxter's talking about, who are trying to get projects off the ground, need data. asking them what their pain points are. Sometimes that's the best way to know how you can provide value, is just ask somebody. And part of the reason I say that is some of that looks like work that has no payoff in the beginning, but it actually does have a huge payoff because you're learning about what somebody needs. You're learning what that value is. That's what I mean by saying putting in that time in the beginning, and that will snowball over time, because once you have that conversation with 3 people, you're going to find so much stuff that overlaps. You don't have to ask those questions anymore. It's a compounding effect.
Yeah, and in the beginning, so when I first, started working with Chainlink and Chainlink technology, the reason that I got more and more interested is because like I said, I was working at a data provider, and one of our value adds was we had unique data. We had an additional decentralized data source, which helps the network a lot. So, and this was back in the beginning though, and the docs were a little bit newer. And, it was like, okay, cool, spin up a node. And I spent a lot longer than you guys are going to spend spinning up your nodes. It took me quite some time, because I was also new to blockchain. The fact that you have the guide here, you get to skip a lot of the headache that I went through when I was first starting out. So you're definitely, you definitely have a fantastic opportunity to learn a lot here.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, let's move on here. Let's talk about some cool stuff on the Chainlink roadmap, because one of the questions I see is like, hey, what are the sort of hot data sets, all that kind of stuff people want? We can definitely answer some of that more in the Q&A, but part of it is that there's a pretty cool opportunity coming up, at least that I'm really excited about, that I kind of wanted Patrick to talk about. And this is public knowledge, but it hasn't really. Well, I'll just let Patrick talk about it.
Yeah, so we're talking about OCRs here, yeah?
Yeah.
OCR, yeah. So there's been like a leak, if you will, but keep in mind, Chainlink is an open source project, so everything that's done is public knowledge. It's just, sometimes it's, in the weeds of the code, and you need somebody who kind of knows what's going on to figure it out. But yeah, so OCR is kind of the next iteration of these Chainlink nodes. So let me, can I actually share screen real quick?
Yeah. Or you can shoot me a link. It doesn't matter. It's up to you.
Actually, yeah, let me shoot you a link. Or actually, if you want to just go to the gas, ether gas station.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest costs of Chainlink actually is the gas prices. So yeah, so here's like the top gas users in the Ethereum ecosystem. We have Uniswap, Tether, Scam, Random, Nest, 1inch, and then we have Chainlink as number 7, right?
Right.
And the reason that it's so expensive is because we're making a lot of requests, and Chainlink makes a lot of requests, and it makes a lot of transactions to keep updating the data every time it needs to get updated. So Chainlink is using a lot of gas here. The reason it's using so much is every single node that is going to report data needs to report it individually in an independent transaction on chain, and then they need to spend more gas to aggregate it. So Chainlink's spending a lot of gas to make sure that prices stay really strong. So OCR is kind of everything that you're going to learn about Chainlink nodes. It's going to take that and it's bringing it to the next level. So what it does is it's called, OCR stands for off-chain reporting. So what happens is they do this aggregation actually off-chain, and then it gets sent in one transaction on-chain. And there's an insane team of researchers working on this. Ari Jules, if you guys haven't looked him up, go check him out. He's super brilliant. He's one of the guys working on this, as well as a ton of other people. They're spending a lot of time making this really solid. And basically what it does is the nodes interact with each other off chain. They have tons of keys and ways to interact with them. Yep, that's Ari Jules. There's this thing called, I don't know too much about like how good researchers are, but I've been told there's this thing called an H index, which says how awesome somebody is, and he ranks really highly. He was the chief scientist of RSA. If you're familiar with RSA, they are security, right? Like that's like, so this is right in his wheelhouse. This is right where he shines, and he's been doing some fantastic work. So off-chain reporting, it allows the nodes to interact with each other off-chain, come to a consensus of the price, and then report it on-chain in one transaction. So the gas costs, and that's actually, when it comes to expenses of running a node, yes, your infrastructure is going to cost you money. Yes, data is going to cost you money. The gas cost is actually easily the biggest expense, right? So like, you were showing them a market that like, hey, here are some of the rewards. Also below that, it's like, here's some of the expenses, and those are the gas costs. So off-chain reporting is going to drastically cut those down, and it's going to make Chainlink, even easier to be more decentralized, because then it becomes cheaper to bring more and more nodes. So you can, feed responses, revenue per day, gas spent per day, right? That's $1,500 in one day on gas expenses, right? That's a lot of money. Now, obviously, it's still profitable, but it's very expensive. So
it's about half of what the revenue was in this particular day.
Yeah,
it looks like the ratio
exactly.
fluctuates some for sure.
Yeah, right. So yeah, and the gas prices also fluctuate, as you guys know. So it's kind of this super volatile. So this will make just life a lot better. It's been leaked, but again, it's all public information. But yeah, like I don't think people understand how much of an improvement this is, because it also brings in this thing called I forget what it's actually called, but the nodes can sign the data and say, hey, this data is verified coming from me, or this data is verified coming from somebody. So it allows not only you to be much cheaper, but allows you to sign the data and kind of sign, hey, this is where this came from, which is also a huge boost to the system. So OCRs, it's, long story short, it's literally everything that it's just taking that aggregation piece, and instead of doing it on chain and having it be really, really expensive, it's doing it off chain. And there's a lot of really fancy cryptography going on to make sure that the off chain piece is done correctly. And if somebody tries to report data that's wrong, that doesn't match the cryptographic signature, it just gets rejected, and another node will pay for, will make the transaction, and the node that didn't will get kicked off the network and stop making money. So
yeah,
highly incentivized to be honest and be a good person.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, so that's a little bit more about OCRs. Is that voting consensus? It is not a voting consensus, actually. It's doing a median basically of the prices. So it is not a voting consensus. They do not vote on the price. Good question.
Yeah, that is a good question.
Cool. Yeah. Do you want to jump into some questions now, or
yeah,
what?
I think we covered most of the bases. So again, guys, if anybody's jumping into the masterclass late, they're confused, or like, hey, where's the coding, all that kind of stuff. Again, if you're in the membership program, I have the entire setup technical implementation separate. It's like about an hour and a half worth of content, and some of it has like some hang time in it, where like you're waiting 10 minutes for a machine to spin up. So I didn't want to do that in the class tonight. I didn't want to get stuck with any like potential technical hiccups. So I spared you all that, and you've got it here. If you're just in the master class, you can get a follow-up email with a zip file with all the contents of this as well. Okay, and if you want to join the membership program to take advantage of all these other master classes right here, these videos we put out every single week, you can also shoot me an email, gregory.pverse.com, and we can fix that up. So yeah. I think we covered a lot of the great overview. Patrick's given us a ton of awesome perspective as a node operator who's been in the trenches doing this stuff for some time now. So yeah, let's jump into some Q&A. Let's see here.
I got one here. What's a general range of margin for a passive income node operator? It really depends. What's a general range? I feel like it's such a tough question, because you'll get nodes like Linkpool that have done a ton of work and have been around for a long time, that have a ton of jobs, right? And their range is going to be way bigger than some of the newer nodes that have come up more recently, right? So like there's even my node, they have way more jobs than my node. So their range is going to be a lot higher because they've been working, they've been building relationships. They've been in the space a really long time. So it's really hard to say. It really depends on the quality of jobs you get, the number of jobs you get. I didn't even talk about like VRF or like any or like external testers or anything. That might be another conversation. But
I think the biggest thing to get people started on is crypto price feeds, because that's like where a lot of the demand is, and it's just sort of the basic use case. I mean, if you're watching this and you go through those technical implementation and you want to like get into other stuff, to about verified randomness, that's something that's okay to use a single node for. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's generally okay, right?
So what a lot of projects would usually do is they'll spin up their project. They'll spin up with one node for testing.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they decide to go mainnet, then they'll add more nodes. But most of them usually start with just one node.
Yeah, that's why I prefer verified randomness, right? Like if you just want a random number, it's okay to just talk to one node in that case, right?
Actually, yeah. So that's actually a good point. So for VRF, the way that VRF actually works is all the verifying that's a random number is done on chain. So it's a binary. So if they send you a random number, the VRF will accept it, and you can work with one node, and that's fine. If they send you a not random number, which again the VRF checks to see if it's random, which is kind of an insane concept, it'll reject it, and so you're still safe. So the worst thing that working with one node can do is reject it. So it's still ideal to work with multiple, but if you work with only one VRF node, the worst thing that can happen is that they just don't send you a random number. So if you keep that in mind, you'll be safe. You'll be good to go because they can't send you a non-random number.
Yeah, totally. And so there's I did a tutorial on YouTube about chainlink betting game that uses that. So basically like do a dice roll, and you want to know the random number for that dice roll. Well, this is a good way to do it. So people in the game, and randomness is central to games. So the Chainlink's doing a great job of helping with that as well.
Yeah, that was a really cool tutorial. If you guys haven't seen that, definitely go check that out. Randomness is really hard in deterministic systems. Randomness is really, really, really hard because we've seen projects try to get randomness like inside of a blockchain, and then they just get owned because it's not. It's deterministic, and anything that's deterministic, somebody can figure out and hack and hijack. So.
Yeah, I just said Bitcoin cracked 22K. Yeah.
Bitcoin. What else is here? The opportunity in OCR is reducing expenses on a node, right? Yeah, exactly. That's it. Cut your fees like more than in half.
Yeah. And so I think somebody asked about the margin earlier. So part of the question may have been like percentage margin. So like some of these days too, it looks like we were like 50% basically in gas costs alone. So you add server costs on top of that, all that kind of stuff, so I mean, the server costs will just depend on a lot of things. I mean, it depends on your revenue as far as the percentage of what that is, right? But so I mean, like if you're talking about gas costs alone being like maybe 50% on some of these days, then that will dramatically improve that problem.
Yeah, for sure. So the server costs are pretty flat, right? They don't really scale. The gas costs pretty much always scaling. I'm not. Yeah, 50% is probably right. So it looks like it's 50% there.
Yeah. And don't forget the link price changes, the Ethereum price changes, and the gas amount per day changes. So there's lots of variables going on here.
Yeah. So it's kind of hard to say. If you're servicing a decent amount of jobs though, you definitely stay profitable. I assume we can wreck our reputation if we go live and try to resolve an issue that is over our skill level. So, I mean, basically yes. So if an issue pops up and you can't fix it, and your node is online, you're probably going to get kicked off the network if you can't fix it. So, with that, I would say if you're starting out. And you want to go on mainnet and you have jobs, right? I would say, once you get jobs, if you're like, hey, there's a lot of stuff I don't understand. There's a lot of what ifs. I think again, like Linkpool has a an emergency service or something that you pay some amount a month, and then they'll help you out. But I don't know if they're still doing that, or what the cost is there. But yeah, you really don't want to go live, have mainnet jobs, and not be able to fulfill them, right? Because people's smart contracts are depending on your node being accurate and being up. So if you're gonna launch live and not be able to fix things, then you need to work with somebody who can do that stuff. So, but again, you can also learn it.
Yeah, here's the thing: you can learn it, all right. And if you're getting traction, you can learn it. You could also hire somebody, you know what I mean, to like help you. Like if you have gotten to the point where you basically have a digital business running, it's like in your best interest to maybe like go into the red to like get that thing off the ground. Like if you've got that momentum, you've got that ball rolling, all you have to do is like hire somebody who's more knowledgeable than you to like bail you out. If you can find that person, right? That can be hard too. Then that can definitely worth it. Like you don't want to worry about, do I not know enough to and get in a bad situation? Part of it is like, you want to like, sometimes you have to go through those growing pains. I'm just kind of offering like a counter, like maybe a counterintuitive way of thinking about it, because if you're kind of just looking at it from the outside and like, you may not think about it that way. I mean, at the end of the day, if you got out there and wrecked a mainnet node, like you could always start over. You know what I mean? Like if you had the knowledge, you know what I mean? I mean, that's probably not the best way to think about it. You should definitely go into it like you're going to do this forever on this one single node. But like, if you get to that point where you're a total beginner, you know what I mean? Like you could always start over.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, everything you said there is definitely accurate. So I don't want
people to get too scared to start. That's the whole point I'm trying to make.
Yeah. Absolutely. Don't be too afraid to start. Because the other thing is,
take it seriously, but don't be too afraid to start.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is too, is, if you start on a test net, I mean, like you can figure out the kinks like on a test net for free. Like that's the other thing. Like you really don't, I really don't want to say, hey, like if you're not ready to go to mainnet, screw it, go. Like I don't want to say that, because I think, I feel patriotic when the level of care that I put into my node, and how much I value the uptime, and how much I'm like, I've worked to make sure I know everything. But you can learn all those things with a test node for free. Right. So if you get a test node up and you get jobs and you pretend like it's your mainnet node, you'll run into the exact same issues you would have run into, and you'll figure them out. And then you'll, after, I don't know, depends on you, maybe after a month of doing it, maybe after 2 months, 3 months, like you'll be good to go, and you'll realize, okay, there are going to be bumps along the way. I understand what those bumps are, and I'm ready to tackle this, and I'm ready to go in and instead of kind of going in and feeling like kind of nervous, like, am I gonna go down? Am I gonna lose rep? You go in like a badass and you go, I know how to do this because I've run the test net node. I've done the work. And I think that if that's the route that you take, I think that is very commendable, and that is absolutely phenomenal. I think if you're kind of saying, hey, I kind of want to just, eke into mainnet and then like YOLO, that's the wrong attitude, and that's how you're going to crash and burn. Right. That's definitely how you. But if you're nervous and you're like, hey, am I going to rep my reputation? Just take the time to run the test net node, and you'll be good to go.
Right. Yeah, I think that's good. I think there's a lot of balance in between what Patrick and I are saying. I think he's did a better job of that. I guess the reason that I was talking about what I was saying is I see a lot of people are always just too afraid to start. You know what I mean?
That's very true.
That's what I'm really trying to like, work against. Because I mean, there's this DeFi, you get a lot of crazy people who just like ape into stuff without thinking. And I think that's a lot of what Patrick's talking about. You don't want to like, just, this is an important thing. Like this is a calling, right? There's a lot of rewards to it for sure, but there's a lot of responsibility at the same time. So it's sort of like becoming a pilot, but there's no pilot school. You have to teach yourself how to fly the airplane, basically. And so like once you're in the air, like you're running, and that's the reason I mentioned before is like, if you're too scared and then you get to that point, let's say something did happen to your node or something like that. I mean, if it was a game changer and if this was a deal breaker and it's something you really wanted to do long term, then you could start that over. But you don't want to go into it and be like, oh well, we don't care. We're just gonna like,
Yeah.
Throw it to a wall and see what sticks. That's definitely not the right attitude. So I just want to, make sure everybody kind of understands what the right attitude is. I think Patrick did a great job.
And I'm just going to agree with you back too. Yeah. I would always say, don't be afraid to jump in and try. Absolutely. Don't be afraid to jump in and try. Cause there's so much to learn, and there's so much there's so much to learn. And the other thing is there's a massive community of node operators. I mean, you saw him scrolling through the Discord. People post questions there all the time. I mean, I'm on there to help out with nodes that are running. Other node operators are there to help out, and that's another reason why, when I say join the community, I mean it, because the node operators, want to help each other out, right? Like there's been times when, a node's had a massive issue, and I've jumped on it and I've been like, hey, like I've run into this issue before. Here's what you have to do to fix it. And then likewise the other way around. Like I've run into an issue and I'm like, hey, I'm freaking out. I don't know what to do. And they go, oh, it's, just put a semicolon here or something so small or stupid. And I'm like, oh wow, I'm so glad that we have a good relationship. So the community is there to help you out. Like the community doesn't want you to fail. The community wants you to do well here. We all want everyone to do well, because us doing well is fantastic for smart contract as a whole, chainlink as a whole. And yeah, just the overall blockchain community, the overall blockchain environment, everyone, we want everyone to be successful. So it's the same thing with like Ethereum. If I was part of the ETH2, Genesis staking, I jumped to the Discords there when I had questions, and they understand too, right? The whole blockchain community, we understand that in order for us to keep moving forward, we need to help each other out. I hear people say this a lot, like we're all in this together, but we really are. So, I want you guys to be successful. I want you to be successful.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's awesome. And when you jump in those Discord communities too, like there's no stupid questions. Like,
yes,
that's something that's really, I mean, so if you're asking questions that are easily accessible somewhere else, don't be offended if somebody like points you to the resources where those questions or the answers questions are. But like, it's okay to ask. I mean, like even when I was going through a lot of this process at the beginning, it's because the knowledge doesn't always just transfer. Like you may be really good at something, and then the knowledge to do this thing does not the same. Like I'm way better at building applications than I am doing like DevOps system administration stuff. I mean, I'm strong enough to do this type of task, but like my application development skills far exceed my DevOps skills. And so like, even when I was going through this process, like I was asking Patrick stupid questions all the time. You know what I mean? So
there were no stupid questions. So that's the thing. They're all great questions.
So the knowledge doesn't always transfer. So don't be worried if you're worried about like, outing yourself as a beginner, like, it's okay. Everybody starts from somewhere.
I think, if someone knowledge shames you, I think that's a really toxic thing that just happens in tech. Just unfortunately, people, oh, you don't know that? Like, come on. Like this is relax. Okay. Like, don't be a knowledge shamer. It's, that's how we learn. It's asking questions and talking. So really good points we made here. How much ether to use as gas is needed to start a node? You can start, you can put, it depends on the jobs. Again, if you want to put enough ether to run one job, then it'll be whatever the current gas price is times like the gas. So like maybe like $10 of ether. But if you want to run more than that, then you have to put more ether, obviously.
Yeah.
Bitcoin crack 22K. Yep. The complexity of the jobs when you are live, please. The complexity of the jobs when you're live. Most of the jobs that I run in production are really simple. They're just API calls. And that's what pretty much everything's going to be. It's just going to be an API call. They're really not that complicated. If you want to do more interesting things like external adapters, you can check out, we've written a couple blogs on that. Those are pretty cool. Can get pretty complicated, but if you're a node operator and somebody's already written an external adapter and they say, hey, can you host this for me? You don't really need to know how the job works. That's not totally true. If you're going to be supporting on mainnet, you probably should know how it works, but yeah, you actually probably should know. I know how all my jobs work.
But just to get started, to implement a job on testnet.
But yeah, you could always work with an external adapter developer, have them build you an external adapter, and you understand the gist of it. It's like, hey, this we're calling this API. That's what the majority of them are. And then if the API is down, then that's how you can figure out to treat it. Okay, do I need to pick a different data provider? What's going on here? The jobs usually aren't very complicated. Oh, I lost my spot.
Somebody asked about, can gas token be used to reduce gas costs?
That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe. That would be, if you find that out and you make a PR to the Chainlink core code, again, because it's open source, that would be an awesome thing to find out. Maybe. The answer is maybe. Yeah, probably, actually. I don't know.
I don't know to tell you the truth off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to say probably, but like that would be an awesome PR. Like, hey, add Chi gas to the Chainlink core. If you figure that out, like that is a sick PR. You are a fantastic.
If you don't have a blockchain developer job yet, and then you open that pull request and it works, you will probably get one within a matter of days.
The community will definitely try to repay you there. Why hasn't the crypto price feed source space saturated? Crypto price feed source space. Oh, you're talking about like oracles in general. Oh, that's an interesting question. I think the answer is because doing it right is hard. Doing oracles correctly is hard. We've seen a ton of projects, like I said, like this past month, lose millions of dollars.
So for clarification, we're talking about why aren't there a bunch of other people like dethroning Chainlink, right? Not like why. We're talking about Oracle protocols versus validators.
I think that's the question. Oh, but that is
if people are asking, like, are they saying why aren't there more Chainlink competitors versus like is that space too crowded versus like is the validator space too crowded?
Yeah, I'm going to go with why is there not more Chainlink competitors, and I'll answer actually both actually. So why aren't there more Chainlink competitors? I think there are a lot of Chainlink competitors actually. I think there's actually a lot of Chainlink competitors, and the reason is they're not as good. I mean, I that's really it. Like it's really hard to do this right. Chainlink has done a ton of work, and again, it's an open source project. There's a ton of community members who work on this who don't have like any affiliation, which is awesome. They just know that oracles are the future, and oracles are going to be the way to make these smart contracts better. So that's what I've seen. There's nobody that does it better. There's no reason. There's nobody that can do it better because all the logic makes sense, and there's no reason to do it differently. Because again, some of the top scientists in the world are working on making sure this is right. So there are other oracles, and they are doing what they're doing, but none of them are securing any real mainnet customers, and it's because they're not as good, and because Chainlink has done a ton of work to be the best and be the correct solution and do it right. So now the other question, which is like, why are there not more validators making more price feeds? So price feeds is actually is meant to be this kind of community resource that everybody can draw from, right? If you go check out the docs, getting pricing data is actually just a view function. So anybody can jump on there and check it out. But it's meant to be this community resource, and some of the constraints right now are really coming down to gas costs. If you want to and this is why OCR is so massive, because OCR allows it to be much more decentralized at the same price, at the same like ether gas cost that it's costing right now to get these updates. So the reason that there's not more price feeds is because everyone's spinning up their own price feed. It kind of defeats the purpose of having kind of this one decentralized community resource, because now everyone's kind of getting these independent pieces, and that's very expensive. It becomes really, really gas expensive, and it doesn't make sense to do. It doesn't make sense to do. Question for you, Greg. Does the monthly membership program include the blockchain bootcamp course as well, or is that separate?
So it's a good question. So I get this question all the time. So I'll clear it up for anybody who's has the same question on the stream. So there are two ways to join DAP University. So one of them is with the membership program, Blockchain Mastery University. So what that is, we do these master classes, and these have really taken off this year, and we're starting to do them quite frequently now. The target is going to be doing them about once per month, where we cover these really hot topics like how to become a chainlink validator. We did the yield farming master class more recently, show you how to like fork a DeFi app and put it on the blockchain. We did the trading bot master class on how to like build an arbitrage trading bot with flash loans. Yield farming with smart contracts with flash loans. We started off the whole masterclass series with flash loans because that was one of the big hottest topics. Like I got to learn how to do a flash loan. Got to learn how to do a flash loan. So that was the first series. Then we did several master classes that sort of riffed on that. We got the Chainlink master class, and actually, since you're here on the stream tonight, I'll just tell you the next one we're gonna do. We're going to do an ETH2 masterclass. That's going to be the next one. I don't think I've announced it yet to the community. So if you're here tonight, it's the first one. So I'm going to show you how to set up an ETH2 node and also a staking pool, so that if you want to pool your resources together to run an ETH2 node, that's how you can do it. All right. So this is the first announcement of that. So anyways, that's what the membership, and then also every week we do a video. All right. So you can see like a lot of technical topics, like, we've been covering a lot of DeFi stuff lately, like different DeFi protocols. So anyways, how's that different from the bootcamp? So the bootcamp is a step-by-step coding program, right? So these master classes, as you've seen, they're big deep dives on technical topics, but they're not the step-by-step resource on how go from A to Z, like how do I get started coding in blockchain? How do I build an application? How do I learn the programming languages? That's what the bootcamp for, step by step, start to finish. And that is separate from Blockchain Mastery University. Lots and lots of people join both. Blockchain Mastery University is a great way to go through the bootcamp at the same time, because we have a special Slack channel in there. Let me just pull it up actually. So you can reach out and ask questions. That's part of what Blockchain Mastery University is. So we've got a boot camp channel in there. You can jump in there, ask questions. I've got an assistant, Peter, who helps me answer questions in there too. He's been really great. So you get stuck, you get a problem, you can get help that way. So
next question. If you have access to niche info, does it need to be formatted a certain way to be accessible and verifiable to other nodes or to info seekers, i.e., how do I get my data into the node and accessible? I think that's a good question. So yes and no. So I mean, most data falls under similar types, right? You have an integer, you have a string, you have a bytes object, you have a Boolean. Most APIs are going to return like JSON data. Like that's kind of the standard for the web. So if you have data and it's returning a JSON object, then that's going to work out great. If you're going to send just a string, I haven't actually tested that. I pretty much only have worked with JSON. So if you want to keep to the standard, which I think makes sense, there's a reason that JSON is so widely used. Just set it up as JSON. I wouldn't be surprised if you could do something with a different response type, but I haven't tested
or something like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, or like XML or something. Yeah. Do you need to have link or do fees paid cover it? So you don't need to have link to run your node, but you do need to have whatever blockchain you're working on is currency. So on Ethereum, you need Ethereum. Because you need to pay for gas with whatever blockchain you're on. So on Ethereum, you need Ethereum. There's also nodes live on Matic, on Binance, on some are coming up on Avalanche right now, which actually that's something else that's interesting. If you want to, if some of these other chains are looking for nodes, maybe you spin your node up on another chain where there's less competition. That's something to think about as well. But no, you don't need Link. But you do need that blockchain's currency. And again, Chainlink is a blockchain agnostic technology, so it can work with any blockchain out there.
Cool. Hey, really quickly, just as a heads up, My Zoom call maybe hit a 2-hour limit here. So if we get cut off, that's why. But I think we'll probably go ahead and give us a 10-minute warning anyway to kind of wrap up the Q&A here. So if you got any pressing questions, go ahead and drop them in. We may get cut off of Q&A because my Zoom call may stop after 2 hours. I think that happened at one of the master classes before. So sorry about that.
No worries. All right. Could gas token.io be used to intermediately to reduce gas costs? Yeah, we kind of talked about this a little bit. Probably. If you make that PR, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bounty associated with that. That's really cool. Testnode is amazing. Cool. The testnode is training day. Yep. Mass adoption comes from testnode. Yep. Any thoughts? Nope. So it looks like there are 30 validators on Chainlink that get any significant volume, and the others are getting very little traffic. Is this all the validators in the network? Why did it go away? So the validators in the network. So on market.link, you're actually just seeing the nodes that are registered on market.link. So there are some professional nodes that are doing pretty well that aren't registered. So the answer is yes and no. I think most of them are on there, but there are some that aren't, which is really interesting. So I think most of them are, though. How many validators will there be in 1 year? I don't know. A lot. I have no idea.
One way to find out. Waiting.
Yeah, right. Yeah, wait. Other than Discord channel, what other community sites? Discord's the main one that I use. You can also check out my YouTube channel too. I do a bunch of Chainlink content, Alpha Chain, the Chainlink YouTube as well. We do a lot of stuff on there. I started streaming recently on Twitch, so there's a lot of stuff going on there. There's a ton of there's a smart contract research forum that you guys can check out if you want to do a little bit more research. That might be out of the realm for here, but Reddit. There's a Reddit channel. There's a Telegram. So there's a lot of different channels, and you can find all of those on the Chainlink website. So they're head over to chain.link, and it all should be there.
Nice.
Yes, community is perfect recipe for the decentralized world. Agreed. What is a feed versus a job? Oh, that's a good question. So a feed is actually just another word of saying like an aggregation of many jobs. So a single job is saying, hey, I would like the price of Bitcoin from data provider A. That's going to be a single job. A feed is going to be multiple jobs saying, hey, I would like the price of Bitcoin from nodes A, B, C, D, E, F, G from data providers J, K, L, M, N, O, P, right? So a feed is the aggregate of these jobs, whereas a single job is a single instance of getting data. What and how to do cron job calls? Check out the documentation. There's the cron jobs are part of the. So jobs are split up into two sections. There's the initiators, and then there's the adapters or tasks. The initiators are what kicks off a job. Hence why they're called the initiators. Cron jobs, cron Chainlink jobs, I should say, are jobs that are following a cron schedule. So if you're familiar with cron, you can check it out. It usually just says like, hey, run every day, at 2:00 or something. You can make it do, repeating like that. I would check out the documentation for sure to learn how to run a cron job. If we were to hire talent to launch or properly run a few nodes, what skill sets and experience would we be looking for in a freelancer? Good question, actually. DevOps. So if you want to do a cloud project, which is a lot of what this masterclass is, it's going to be like some cloud engineer. Cloud engineers should know how to do pretty much most of the stuff. The blockchain part might be foreign. So DevOps and ideally a little bit of blockchain, but if it's mostly DevOps and maybe the blockchain aspects, that should be fine. But definitely DevOps and ideally some blockchain. Ideally some blockchain.
And honestly, if you hired a DevOps engineer, they could learn the blockchain stuff like resource. You know what I mean? Like the blockchain side of it's so minimal. is if they're technically very sophisticated otherwise, they could just like do this masterclass and they'd be fine probably.
Yeah, actually, yeah, or even like a sysadmin. Yeah, and this like a even like a more junior sysadmin who's really who's
Hungry.
really hungry, really responsible. Well, the other thing is, I say like, oh, you got to be on it. You got to be super. The thing is, like, if you have a team too, and this is so this is, the reason that I'm so passionate about, like, uptime and support. And I like to think I'm very good at it now. This is what I did at the hedge fund too. We had a rotating team where there's always somebody on, but you rotate, right? Not everyone's on 24/7 because that's depending on how volatile the system is, that could be hell. But yeah, if you have your team, and the 8 hours that they're on, they're responsible for it, and there you go. But yeah, so that's kind of the experience, and it can kind of change. And I'll be a little bit quicker with these answers because I know I only have a couple minutes left here.
Yeah.
What was being created? Blah blah blah. ETH2 seems like I need to dedicate the time and learn as I go, and I assume I will be fine. Yeah, pretty much, actually. Yep, you'll be fine. Follow Gregory's masterclass, join the community, and you'll be good to go. Apart from Chainlink node and ETH2 node, can you name a few good other nodes that we can explore, please? Honestly, there's so many blockchains. I mean, I have the ones that I'm interested in. The reason I'm interested in them is because I'm working with them, and I really like the technologies. Like I've written about Polkadot. I think Polkadot is doing some really, really cool stuff. I think Polkadot is living in this interoperable world. I think running a Polkadot node is really cool. Avalanche is really interesting. They have some really good docs on staking too. So you can stake with Avalanche, and staking with Avalanche. If you learn how to do ETH2, Avalanche is really, really similar. Matic, I think is interesting. I think XDAI is interesting. I think there's a lot of chains that do. So to me, what's important is what the chains do. I think there's a lot of chains that do things that the crypto ecosystem needs, right? Like I think I believe in a multi-chain world. I think having chains be dedicated to doing specific things, I think is very good. Like Ethereum will never do what IPFS can do, and IPFS will never do what Ethereum would do. This is obviously a drastic example. But yeah, there's a lot of nodes you guys can check out. Can we use the data that is created like Uniswap liquidity pool? Great question. This is actually a really important question because this is what a lot of protocols try to do at first. So Uniswap is an example of a decentralized exchange. So they are a decentralized exchange, but when they come up with data, it's coming from their single it's coming from their single source, their single DEX. So even though they are a decentralized exchange and they are fantastic at what they do, they are a centralized data provider, right? Because if the liquidity on Uniswap crashes or spikes and you're getting your data from there, your data now crashes or spikes. Right. So this is something that's actually really important. And this is something that we've been seeing is a lot of projects say, okay, this is a DEX. I'm going to get my price just from this DEX, right? Because they say, oh, it's decentralized, right? It's a decentralized exchange. It's not decentralized data. And this is actually a really, really important piece because again, this is where what we're trying to do. We're trying to educate more people saying, hey, this is the difference between, $90 million being liquidated and not, right? We saw one of the bigger attacks recently was $90 million. Yeah. Which is insane, right? And it's because their Oracle solution was not very sophisticated. They were using these DEXs, they were using these centralized data points, and they got pwned for it. So yes, you can use Uniswap, but it better not be your sole source, because you need to get it from a decentralized Oracle. So.
One caveat there is the prices are aggregated. All right. So like when you're talking about getting a cryptocurrency price, we talked about the decentralized network, basically how it's a median, right? Or a mean maybe of the price.
No, median. Yep.
Median. Okay. From different sources, but basically different nodes on the feeds, whenever they bring that information back in, you get a median. But part of they're requesting from an aggregated price in the first place, most of the time.
So some of them are, yeah. Some of them even aggregate it themselves before they send it.
Yeah. So one thing to think about is that's another reason that's the argument in your favor of not using Uniswap as like a source of truth for a price, because you want some sort of aggregation to be done before you're even bringing in a price feed at all, because the price comes from the market, right? The market, and there are multiple markets, multiple exchanges, Binance, Coinbase, Uniswap, et cetera. I mean, Uniswap has its own mechanism for calculating prices based upon the automated market maker, but those markets are brought into efficiency with arbitragers. So basically, like if the Uniswap price goes out of whack like crazy, arbitragers are going to exploit the opportunity and bring the prices back to efficiency. So.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. There's no node operator that I know of is actually getting their data exclusively from any exchange, decentralized or centralized. They're all using some type of aggregation method before they put it on chain, because they know the quality is going to be much higher.
Yeah.
So that's actually a really good question here. How much gas a day the average a node would spend? I assume it will take time to get known. So this, again, it depends on how many jobs they get. A node's going to spend.
But yeah, we were looking at, let's just say for spitball, for just to have some sort of expectation. We look at some of these people that were doing 50% basically in operational cost per day in terms of gas costs. So just maybe use that as a starting point. Again, there's lots of factors, but if we want just a really quick, simple answer, but don't forget, like, you're paying the cost, but you're also getting paid in Link, right? So if you're paying gas costs, you're essentially getting compensated for doing that. So you're not really going into the hole to try it out with gas costs to get started. I mean, you have to have some Ether in that wallet where you can get it back later. Yep. And of course you're exposed to the price volatility of the ETH, all that kind of stuff. But it's not like you have to sit here and just burn through gas fees before you start, getting rewarded for the request that you're making, unless you're paying yourself. You know what I mean?
So I'll give you the quick there. So I get my Link. I take some of it, I turn it to ETH, I refund the node, and then I take the rest. So, exactly. You're using the Link to cover the gas costs. What's your typical time? This will be the last question, I think. What's your typical time frame for a routine job? I don't think I actually understand that question, Travis. Unless you understand it, Gregory.
I think he's saying for like maintenance, like.
Yeah, I'd say the time, like a routine job for me is probably like 15 minutes, to be honest. There's a lot of sometimes I come on, I'll just restart my Docker containers. I'll add a job, and those can be pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it up there. Man, Patrick, I'm so glad you could join us tonight, man. I think it added a ton to the conversation to have you on and hear from your experience as someone who's way further along down this path. So everybody, welcome me, or what am I saying? Join me in thanking Patrick for coming on the stream tonight. I think this was amazing. Everybody drop it in the chat there. Thank you, Patrick. This was awesome.
Yeah, this was fun. Thanks so much again for having me.
Yeah, go subscribe to Patrick's YouTube. Go check out Alpha Chain, all that kind of stuff. You'll definitely see him out there in the Discord channels if you're in there. Don't be a stranger. Any of the chainlink hackathons, if you've got any more coming up soon, I'm sure you'll see Patrick around there as well.
Actually, yeah, Q it hasn't been announced yet, but probably early on this coming year, we're going to do another chainlink hackathon. And last year was an absolute blast. And yeah, Gregory sponsored and found some really fantastic projects. So really excited for that. Definitely encourage everybody here, go check out the chainlink hackathon, build something really cool. And that's a great time, if you are running the node, to sync with some projects and kind of build something really cool together.
Nice. Yeah, very cool. Well, that's everybody. I'm going to wrap it up for the evening. This was great. If you're watching this live, just check your email. If you join the masterclass only, you'll get a replay link with this plus the technical resources. If you're in the membership program, we'll upload the replay pretty soon to the video vault.